Hello everyone, welcome back again. Hope you all are doing very good. And today we are going to discuss the data analysis part. Here the agenda would be why Python for analysis, what is NumPy, and we'll see introduction to NumPy, pandas and matplotlib. So guys, a quick overview what we have completed till now. So we completed three modules, and in the first module we went through the basics of Python. I mean, why Python, what are the features of it, then some basic things like variables and loops and if else statements. Then in the second module we completed sequences, and we saw some hands-on based on the sequences and all. In the third module we saw the object-oriented concepts, the key concepts of object-oriented programming and all. And here we are in the fourth module already, and this is going to be the last module. And here we have to discuss NumPy, pandas and matplotlib. Okay, so one more thing, I mean, here we are not going to have much of theoretical portion. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just give you a brief background of these packages, and then we'll directly move on to the hands-on scenarios where we have already written code. So we'll be discussing that. Okay, so let's start. And the first point is, what is data analysis? So data analysis is nothing but, let's say you have a raw data. What you do is you inspect that data first, you clean it, and then you transform it, then you model the data to find the insight from that that particular cleaned and transformed data. Okay, so now let me give you an example. Here the definition says data analysis is a process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming and modeling data with the goal of discovering useful information. I mean, finding insights from that particular set of data. Now let me take an example. So let's say we are doing a sentiment analysis. So what exactly a sentiment analysis is? That you check if let's say if a person is tweeting. Okay, we have an app called Twitter, and some person, let's say some famous personality, maybe like Amitabh Bachchan or maybe like Sachin Tendulkar, they tweet. I mean, every other day they tweet something on some topic. So what we want to do is we want to do the sentiment analysis of all those tweets done by the famous personalities. Now when I say sentiment analysis, that means where the tweets done by these personalities are negative or positive. This is what our motto is to find. Okay, so what we'll have to do here, we'll first gather the data, the raw data we have. So what we'll do is we'll first fetch their, let's say 100 or first 100 or 200 tweets. So that's called the raw data. That raw data will contain each and everything. That will contain emoticons, that will contain prepositions, that will contain is, are, the, a, articles and all, comma, full stop, and those things we do not require. So then the next part is you go and clean that. What all part of data is required for us to find insight, we'll keep that only, and remaining parts will remove it. That we call as cleaning. Okay, like you want to remove, there won't be any insight from words like the, are, is, semicolon, full stop, and emoticons maybe. So these things are not required or will not give you any information whether the tweet is positive or negative and what is the sentiment of the tweet. So what we do is we remove such unrequired things, and we call it cleaning. Okay, now what we do is we transform the data. So when you call it transform, I mean, how you transform the data. Now you already have gathered the raw data, and then you have cleaned it. Now the next step is to transform it. Okay, now transform it. So here in transformation, what we will do is maybe you'll go and categorize. You'll put few words into let's say positive category, you will put few words into negative category, and will put some words into neutral category, like that. So based on that you'll do some classifications, and you'll put some transformation into the data. Correct? And then what we do is once you are done with all of these things, then we go and you do a modeling with data, so that you can figure out if the overall sentiment of a famous personality from his last 100 or 200 tweets is negative or positive. Okay, so there are 3 4 steps. First step is to collect the raw data, then to clean it, then to transform it, and then prepare a model, and then you have to give the result, or maybe you can find the insight, or then you can publish the report. Okay, this famous personality, 40% of his tweets are positive, and maybe another famous personality, maybe a Bollywood superstar, or maybe a cricket star, or maybe a Hollywood star. First 40% of his tweets are negative, first 40% of his tweets are positive, or 20% or 30% of his tweets are neutral, like that. So this is what a complete, I mean, this is actually sentiment analysis is a very big project of data science. So I tried explaining this data analysis in terms of sentiment analysis, and so hope you have a basic idea of what is done in the data analysis, what is inspecting, what is cleaning, what is transforming, and then creating the model, and then analyzing it. Hope now hope this has built a basic background for you. Now guys, this thing is going to come more than 20 25 times in our data science classes, because uh, these are the steps to implement each and every model. So these steps are going to be implemented in almost every model that we are going to see in data science classes. So no need to worry, just you have to understand the steps that is required for doing data analysis, and those steps are collecting the raw data, and then inspecting it, then cleaning it, transforming it, and then creating the model out of it. Okay, so this is, and you can see here I have you can see the screenshot here. Three raw data is there, then we have transformed into a desired format. Let's say you want to maybe store it into some JSON format or some other format, so we transform it into different format, and then we clean the data. This is called pre-processing. And when you keep cleaning and transforming in single bracket, then these things make the pre-processing of data. Then the next step is to prepare a model, and then is to analyze the data or to find insight using the data. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part, why Python for analysis. So Python provides various methods for analysis, manipulation, and visualization. So what is this? So we saw the steps like cleaning, transforming, and then modeling, visualization, and all. So all these functions, or maybe all these steps, can be easily performed using Python because of the important and very useful packages present in Python, and those packages are NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. What a NumPy package is used for? NumPy package is mostly used for linear algebraic calculation, mathematical operations in the form of, and they store data in the form of arrays and matrix and 3D arrays. So we'll see that. And then data manipulation using pandas, what you do is you read data from a CSV file, then you convert into data frame that essentially is a table, and then in Matplotlib you go and create graphs like a bar chart, histogram, scatter plot, and pie chart and all. So whatever things you do in a BI tool like Tableau or Cognos or ClickView can be done using the Matplotlib package of Python. So because of the presence of these important packages, Python is one of the best, or you can say the best tool for doing data analysis, or best tool for data science projects. Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next one. And this is now comes NumPy packages. So we'll see NumPy package first. What exactly is NumPy package? This is nothing but it contains, we already saw what is a module and then what is a package. So this contains a lot of functions that is used for scientific computing, that is used for linear algebraic functions, that is used for mathematical operations. So this NumPy package contains all the important functions that can be used for such important operations. Now, what are the features of it? So guys, till now what we saw, the data type, if we recall our data type, we had immutable and immutable data type. The immutable data type was string, integer, and tuple, and then we had mutable data type that was list, dictionary, and set. Now NumPy and pandas, we'll see first NumPy. Now NumPy and pandas contains some more data structures. Okay, so NumPy contains the data structure arrays and matrix. Array, you understand? When you say a 1 into 1 matrix, or where there is one row that is called an array. Let's say I'm trying to store 1 2 3 4 5 into array. Then this is called a single dimensional array. We don't have a y-axis on it, then we call it a single dimensional array. Then we have multiple dimensional array, that is called matrix, where we have x-axis and where we have a y-axis, where we have 2 cross 2 or n cross n dimensional matrix, like that. So we'll see where it is used. So this is one of the important data structures of NumPy. And then a method for processing arrays and processing matrix, element by element operations, mathematical operations like linear algebra. We already saw this. Okay. What is n dimensional array? So n dimensional array, guys, first we have to understand array. Hope you know what array is. If we take the first line 1 2 3, that is the array. If you take 1 5 8 11, that is also an array. But when set of rows and columns come, then we call it matrix, or you can also call it n dimensional array. So it's a multi-dimensional array object consisting of two parts, the actual data and the metadata. This is called indexing. Now let's say we have a matrix that is shown here 1 2 3 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Here we have 3 columns and 4 rows. So this is called a 4 into 3 dimensional matrix. The row comes first and then then column comes. So this is a 4 into the 4 cross 3 dimensional matrix. And we'll see how do we indexing and how do we fetch one particular record from it. Now this one, the very first value that has the location of A00. Again, we had already discussed the Python starts counting from 0. Now 2, what will it have? 2 will have, it will have the first row and the second column. The row is 0 and the column is 1. 0 is at 0 0, 2 is at 0 1, 5 is at 1 0, because it is in the second row and the first column. Second row means position is 1 and column is 1, that is 0. So why we call it 1 0. So these are called the metadata, and the actual values 1 2 3 5 6 7 are called the actual data, and all together as a whole we call it a matrix, n dimensional array, or a matrix. Okay, hope this is clear. I mean, we have read this matrix and all in our first, we used to read this in our first or second semester engineering course, engineering, or let's say BTech or BE. Okay, so now comes the pandas. That's why I told you guys we don't have much theoretical portion to be covered into it. So we'll directly jump onto the code and we'll see what all can be done through NumPy. How can we create a array? How can we create a matrix? How can we create a empty matrix? And how can we fetch data using indexing and slicing from the created matrix? So we'll jump onto that directly. So here we have NumPy package, and the very first scenario is I'm trying to create a single dimensional array from a list that contains 3 values 1 2 and 3. So very first step is I have to now, from now onwards, we have to make it a habit of importing packages. Whenever you start doing anything, you have to import packages first. So here you can see I have imported NumPy package and I have given an alias name called np. Okay, because we have to use for every function, we'll have to use this. So every time you'll have to write numpy. Better you can create an alias name, and you can use that alias name in all the functions that are going to be used further. Okay, so import numpy as np, and then we are trying to store that a is a value. I'm trying to store that array that is going to be created in that a. np is the alias for numpy, and then we are using the array function and we are passing the list into that. So this array function is converting a list 1 2 3 into array and then storing it into a variable called a, and then I'm trying to print a, it is printing 1 2 and 3. So this is array got created. So now what difference? You will not find much difference when you see this. Only difference is there are commas present in list, but we don't have comma present in this arrays. Next is how to create a multi-dimensional array. Now this is one dimensional array. Now let's see a multi-dimensional array, that is also called matrix. How do we create that? Again the same thing. Now I'm not going to repeat this import numpy part, just you have to understand it. np array, again I'm passing two lists 1 2 and 3 4, and then here I'm using two functions. first array function and then item size function. So item size function will give you how many elements are there, and then A will print the 2 into 2, that is multi-dimensional array. So we have 1, 2 and 3, 4. Fine. Now, what is the difference between an array and a list? So you can see I've mentioned the difference here. Array needs to be declared, whereas lists do not need a declaration because they are a part of Python syntax. Yes. So arrays and matrix comes as a part of NumPy packages and not a basic Python. But this list and other data types come as a part of a basic Python syntax. Okay. So here what again, the same thing is being repeated here. No need to, and we'll see some more. I have just converted a list into an array. Now we have a function here, aRange. Okay. So aRange function will print this. We pass two arguments here, the start value and the end value. But the actual end value is end value minus 1. You can see I've written 100 here, but the actual end value is 99. So I think we already have discussed on it. It will start from 10 and it will print till 99. So I'm making this into an array. aRange function, and this is creating an array of numbers from 10 to 99. So creating an array of numbers of a specific array. Let's say if you want to create an array of consecutive numbers from 50 to 100 or 100 to 1000, like that. So you can go this way. Next is creating a matrix of a 5 into 5 matrix that contains only 0. So again there is a function called zeros, and you just find that pass the dimension into that zeros function and it will create a array. So here it has created 5 into 5 array. Let me make it 3 into 3. Now you can say it created 3 into 3 array. So these are the important functions. That's why I told you guys there's not much theoretical in it. The only thing is you have to practice it. Only thing, just understand the function, what all arguments are being passed to that function, and just keep on executing. That will boost up your confidence. Next is creating a linearly spaced vector. Here linearly spaced vector means equal distance between any two consecutive numbers in that particular array. So there is a function called line space, and that line space is, it will take the start value, it will take the stop value, and then it will take that how many steps you have to take. Okay, so creating a linearly spaced vector with spaces, we'll see this. Line space function is being used here. The first value is start value, the second value is stop value, and the third value is step. I mean, what is going to be the difference between the two consecutive numbers? So here I have started from 0. I have taken it till 20, and the step is going to be 5. That's why you can see the vector that is got printed here is 0, 5, 10, 15 and 20. This is another function, line space function. Again the same thing, creating an array from a list that we already did. Then comes converting a linear array into 2 into 2 into 3D 2 into 2 into 2 3D array. So what is a 3D array? We first saw only one axis, that is x axis. Let's say 2 2 2, 3 elements, just 3 elements. That's called a single dimensional array. Fine. Now I added one more axis to it, and that axis was a y axis. Now it became multiple n-dimensional array, and we also called it matrix, 2-dimensional matrix. Now when you add one extra dimension to it, the z dimension or the z dimension, then it becomes 2 into 2 into 2 3D array. That is what we are doing here. From that the same function I'm using zeros function and I'm passing 8 into it. That means when you are creating a 3D array, what it will do is it will create 2 into 2 into 2. Okay, so that's what I've done here. Array is equal to mp.zeros 8 and print array. So you can see the array got printed here first I'm trying just to uh, print the array, and then I'm using a function called reshape. So this reshape function will convert the linear array into 2 into 2 into 2 three-dimensional array, and it will store it into array 3D where, and then this array 3D is being printed and you can see it here. Okay, so this is clear. So once you practice these things into your machine, I mean these things will become more clear. Now again we created that array. Now again I want to convert that into a single dimensional array. So till this point we already did. Now a function called ravel is there, R-A-V-E-L. So just if you ravel that 3D array 3D, then it will convert that array 3D into a single dimensional array, and that is what happening here. Array is equal to array 3D dot ravel, and then I'm trying to print array. So you can see the value, all the 8 values got printed. Okay, let's move on to the next code snippet, indexing. So I think I already explained you what exactly indexing is, and just a quick walkthrough on it. I have created an array from 2 to 20. It will start from 2, it will end at 19. And if you want to fetch the 6th element, what is going to be the 6th element? Let's count it. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5 and 6. So 8 is going to be the 6th element. Just you need to start the counting from 0, and then you have to put the 6th element. That is the 7th element. If you see, this is the 7th element and you are putting it here. So same as that of what we did in the list, what we did in tuples, same indexing happens in your arrays also. No difference. What is slicing? Okay, now what a slicing is. So slicing is when you take a part of it. Let's say in a list we sliced our list. That means we took from 1 to 5, or we took from 2 to 6 and we left the remaining ones. So here again, how can we do the slicing? So let's see step by step. I think you have understood arange function now. It will create an array of numbers from 0 to 20. Then I have tried printing it. Okay, and now I'm trying to slice this array using a function called slice, where I am passing 3 arguments. The first argument is the start value, the second argument is the stop value, and the third argument is the step. Okay, now I'm trying to print slice. So you can say, okay, let me execute it directly. The first print statement will give you this, the second print statement has given you this, and the third print statement is nothing but the element array 6, that is fine. And the fifth one is array slice. That means it will start from 1 and then it will add 2 to it, 3, then it will add 2 to it, 5th, then 7th, and then 9th. So this is how this slice function works, and it will give you a part of it. So here you are trying to fetch the odd numbers. In the same way you can fetch even numbers. In the same way you can fetch anything you want. And when you fetch a part of your existing array or list or tuple, then we are slicing it. Same is happening here. Next part is again another form of slicing. Arange function has created an array of 20 numbers from 0 to 19, and then what is being done here is I have written 2 colon what I have passed in array. The last statement you can see array ARR, and then 2 colon I have not mentioned anything. That means from the second position it will fetch all the values till the last one. When you don't mention anything in the stop, on the left side of the on the right side of the colon, that means you have to navigate till you encounter the last number present in that array. That is what is happening here. That the same thing is happening here. You've started from 2. The second digit is here, you can say that it started from 2 and then it navigated till the last number, that is 19. Okay, perfect. Next variant is, if you don't put anything on the left side of the colon, what that means, you have to start from the beginning but you have to end according to the number mentioned on the left side or right side of the colon. But just don't forget to subtract 1 from that value written at the right side of the colon. So here we have 15. So we have to start from the first value and we have to navigate till 14. Okay, so same thing is happening here. You can see it started from 0 and it navigated till 14. So hope you've understood. If you don't mention anything on the right side of the colon, or if you don't mention anything in the left side of the colon, what exactly is going to be going to happen there. So hope you understand. Hope you have understood that now. Next is this was till now it was we did the slicing and indexing of a single dimensional array. We only had one array where we had 20, 30, 50 whatever elements. Now the next step is to see the indexing and slicing of a multi-dimensional array. That means a matrix. Just one thing you have to keep in mind for indexing and slicing of a multi-dimensional array or a matrix. Just one thing you have to keep in mind. Let's say this is a matrix. Just first understand 1 2 3 3 4 5. We'll call it 2 into 3 dimensional matrix. Why 2? Because we have 2 number of rows and we have 3 number of columns, so we call it 2 into 3. Now you have understood how to represent a matrix. Now the location of one is 1 is at 0th row and 1 is at the 0th row and 0th column. That's why we call it 0 0. So this is at 0 0 position. This 2 is at 0 1 position. This 3 is at 0 2 position. Now this 3 is at 1 0 position. This is 1 1 position and this is 1 2 position. Likewise. So just keep this in mind and you won't face a single problem, any problem in performing indexing and slicing of a multidimensional array. Okay. So here I have created an array, that is fine. 1 2 3 4 5 6. By using this will array like this will be created. The what I am trying to fetch is, I am trying to fetch 0 2 and start from 0, go till second position in the row also and in the column also. So start moving from 0 to 2 on row level. Row level is this 0, this is 1, and we actually have to move only till 1. 2 minus 1, the end value that is mentioned here on the right side of the colon, we have to subtract minus 1 and we have to navigate till that point. So here we have to navigate till the first position. So this is 0th and this is first. Now on columns, first and second. So what is common? This part is common, 1 2 and 3 4, and this is what you're getting here. Hope you've understood. 1, the location of the position of 1 is 0 0, the position of 2 is 0 1, position of 3 is 1 0. So only keep these 2-3 things in mind and you won't face any problem. Hope this is clear. This was not much complex, guys. So it was we'll call it easy only. So hope you have understood this part. Let's move on to, and here we have some important functions. Shape function, end function, item size function. So I've written all the things there. Just go and for sure try it out. Do some change in the matrix and try it out. Here I have created a 3 into 3 matrix, the same matrix that we created earlier in the step before this. and then I'm trying to take the shape. What is the shape of it? First it got printed, so this is the output of the first print statement. Then what is the shape of it? 3 into 3 dimension. This, it's printed here. It will return the tuple consisting array dimension. So dimension is 3 into 3, 3 number of rows, 3 number of columns. Then we have ndim, number of array dimensions 2. I mean, whether it is single dimensional array or it is a 2-dimensional array or it is a 3-dimensional array. So ndim will give this. Item size, each item inside that n-dimensional array, what is the length in bytes? So this is being 4 here. So all the elements inside it, all the elements separately are consuming 4 bytes each. So it's presenting 4 here. So hope this is clear. Shape, ndim, and item size function. Again, the array with the specified size filled with 0, we did this. And then we have reading data from a text file. Cool. So let's say you have a file called num in text. Let me show you this file. It will be easier for you to understand. Just 1 minute. We'll see this file. And just a second, guys. This is the file that we are. So first check the data present here. We have a list of numbers separated by a space, and we have 2 lines, fine, 2 rows you can say. Now let's see the data. How can we read this? Now let's say I want to read this numbin file. How can we read it? So we have a function called load.txt. When you have to read .txt file, then a function is there, load.txt. So you have to give the full path of that txt file and print it as array, then it will be printed here. The same thing was present in the file. So very simple to read a file. Function called load text is there. So we have different functions to read a CSV file. We have something in read CSV in pandas. We'll see later. Here we have the function to read a text file. Now how can you write? So how can you write into text file? So this is the function save text. Okay, so whatever you want to write, you can write using this. And then if you want to read from a CSV file, then we have a function called gen form text. Give the full path, specify the delimiter here, and it will be presented. Nan is no value present. We'll see this again in the pre-processing of data science. We'll see what exactly a nan is. That means in that particular box, no value would have been there. That's why Python is read is at nan, not available. So function called gen from text, and then last writing into your CSV file. Then the same thing, save text is there, using which you can read and write data from text file. So this completes the basics of NumPy, guys. The important part was here, the matrix and the array part, the slicing and indexing, and few important functions that we already saw. Okay, so make sure that maybe you would have understood each and everything that we discussed till now, but make sure that you go and practice each and everything. This arrays, this matrix, the functions that are going to be very, very important in the topics like image recognition and other important models. So make sure that you do practice with these basics. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next one, pandas. So what is the full form of pandas? It's panel data. It's actually built upon NumPy, another package called SciPy and Matplotlib. Here, the way we saw in NumPy, we had arrays, n-dimensional arrays. Here we have series, data frames, and panels. And when you want to convert your raw data into tabular format, or any other observational data or statistical data that you want to visualize in tabular format, then we have to go for pandas package, and we'll see the important data types or data structures. You can say data structure in pandas. It provides three important data structures: series, data frames, and panels. So let me explain you in very simple terms. I'll not go through the description written here over here. I'll just explain you in simple terms. Data frames are essentially a table. I'll repeat it. Data frames are essentially a table. That's it. Nothing else. You would have seen a table, employee table. You have 10 columns, 10 rows. So that is what data frame is. You have a table that is called data frame. What is a series? Series is nothing but one column of your table. So a set of series forms data frame, and a single column is called a series. Now what is a panel? Panel, again, it's maybe you can say when you add a third dimension to that particular data frame or a table, then it becomes panel. So this is not required for your level till now. If required, we'll discuss that in data science classes. For now, we only have to understand series and data frames. Series, a structure that contains one particular column. Data frame is nothing but a table. You can say it's essentially a table. Okay, so we'll again jump on to the what all things can be done using this data frames. So again, the same thing that we discussed: rows and columns. That is all about your the features and what can we do in tables that contains homogeneous and heterogeneous data. So this is what we have mentioned here. So let's go and see a few examples. And I've created a series. I'm trying to create a series here. Series function. Much to be. The first one, nothing else is there. So let's see the second one. It created a series. Now let's see the second example. Creating series from n-dimensional array. Or you can see here I have a list. First I am converting this into array, and then I am converting this array into series. Okay, how will it look like? So we had list first, and then I'm converting the list into array and that array into series. A very good example that will make you understand things clear. So print array. So array got printed. That we already saw when we did the example on NumPy, and now this is being converted into series. So this is series. Let me comment this out and then run it. Now I'll have only series. So this is what a series is. The actual data here, guys, is this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This is nothing but this got printed. This is just an index. This is not the value. This is only index. The value that we want is this 10, 20, 30, 40. That's why I told you the series is nothing but a single column table. That's it. This is what we are having here: 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Next is using again we have three columns. The same thing is getting repeated: 0, 1, 2, 10, 20 and 25. Now when you try creating a series using a dictionary, what will happen? The key will become the index and the values will become the value of the series. Here you can see I have a dictionary called A1, B2, C3. A, B, C are the keys, 1, 2, 3 are the values. So A, B, C have become the index, and 1, 2, 3 have become the actual values. Retrieving a part of series, again slicing, same thing. Let's say I have a series 10, 20, 30, 40, and I'm trying to first fetch the second value at the second position, S2. So here 2 means the value corresponding to the 2 key value that will be presented here. So that might confuse you because the value is also 2 and the index is also 2, but this 2 means the key value. Okay, if I make it 1, 2 only, and let me run this. So you can see the 30 got printed here, the value of this. First it printed the series here, 0, 10, 120, 230 and then 340, and then it printed 30, the value at the second position, and then from 0 to 4, that means from 0 to 3, that means started from 0 and it ended at 3. So this again slicing, the same thing happened here. So you have to navigate till the value mentioned at the right side of the colon, you have to minus 1 from that value mentioned. That is, you have to minus 1 from 4 and you have to navigate till that particular point. Okay, same thing is getting repeated, guys. So we won't spend much time over here. Now here I have list X. I'm trying to create a data frame. That is fine. Data frame is a function. Now I'm trying to create a data frame using a dictionary. Okay, so if you create a data frame using dictionary, then the key value becomes the header, or you can say the column name, and the values becomes the actual values. So here the very first element of dictionary is A1 and B2. Okay, so A1 and B2, A and B became this, and 1, 2 came here. Then the second value is A, B and C. Then A, B and C, 4, 6 and 8. Since there is no C present in the first value, it has printed NaN. That means value not available. That is value not available. Okay, same thing I did here. So this is actually a data frame, and you can see the definition. You can call that you can say the data frame is a collection of series, that can be used to analyze the data. Again, the same example is getting repeated. Only one thing got added, that if you want to change the index name. Here the index was 0 and 1, and let's say I want to change it to first and second. Then in the data frame you will have to pass the data, that is fine, and then put a comma, and then excuse me, and then put the index and write whatever you want to write. Perfect. Hope this is clear. Now let's see this example. This is a good example. Here I have a dictionary called data, and there the key is 1. Okay, the key is 1, and the value for one key is a series of 1 to 3. Then I have a second key called 2, and that contains again a series, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 becomes the column here. Here 1 has become the column, and what are the values? 1, 2, 3 got printed. But now the second key contains 4 values, that is 2 contains 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the fourth value, there is no corresponding value at the fourth position in the first column, so it will print NaN. And I have printed this. So the output that you can see here till this point is of this. I mean 2 values in the dictionary, and you tried printing it. Now what if you want to add a new column into that data frame? So you can add a third column here, table 3, pass the values and pass the index. So I passed index ABC. Again the fourth value is missing here, so this fourth value becomes NaN not available. So this is how, guys, using data frame function you can convert the existing dictionary or multidimensional arrays, anything, into your data frame, or a series into a data frame. Okay, this is how if you want to add something to the existing data frame, then you can go and do in this way. The next one is again the delete part. Then delete part is nothing, just pass the key value to the del function and pass the key value into that data frame. Here the data frame is table, and just pass the key value that you want to delete. So we pass 3 here, 3 will be deleted. You can see 3 is deleted. Again, the same thing is happening, guys. Uh, Lock and iLock, when you want, again, indexing and slicing. So if you want what is at the what is in C, then C contains 3, 3, 3.0, 3, and then 30.0. So you can see this lock C, this got printed. In 1 we have 3.0, in 2 we have 3, and in 3 we have 30.0. Now iLock 3, that means at the iLock means the location, the third 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So you can see NaN 4 and NAN got printed here. So this is again indexing for data frames. So you can use the lock function. When you are using the lock function, just pass the index value, and if you are using the iLock function, then you have to pass the actual index. I mean, C was the key. Actually, C was the key. The index, you can index for it was also, let 1 second, a little confusion. When you use lock function, then you have to pass just C here from the index, and when you use iLock, you can pass the digit, I mean the position of it, whether it is first or second or third or fourth, like that it will return you the value. Now this is how and this is going to repeat many times in data science classes. This is how we'll visualize data in our DS models. So what I'm doing here is just try understanding a data dictionary that we already saw. We are trying to add another column, that is perfect, fine. Row is equal to pandas data frame, and then converting into, I'm trying to add few more columns here, that is 2 and 3. Okay, and I'm trying to append a row. Okay, and if you print this, it will be, looks like some error, just a second. Yeah, so this one value contains 1 2 3 1 2 3, other values are missing. The 2 contains 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, and then we added 11 and we added into, we have added 11 and 13 here. So you can see 11 and 13 got added, and then we have added 13 and 19 here. Sorry, my bad. Here we have added in the 2, we have added 11 and 13. Okay, there is something I think is missing, and then we have 17 and 19 for 2 and 3. Okay, okay, so leave it, guys. I think there is some to be checked. I'll check this, and maybe I'll explain you in the next video. Looks like some issue here. Next is, if you want to drop, then just pass in the drop function, just pass the index and it will drop here. So we have a data frame, this data frame, and I've dropped the values present at the 8th index. So it has dropped it, and it has created BCD like this. And again, in the NumPy package, we saw how to read the text file. Here I am trying to read the CSV file. So we have a function called read underscore CSV. So you always have to put a alias name before this read underscore CSV, that is PD. So PD is nothing but an alias for pandas package. So I have done that. And make sure that you put the whole path into a single quotes and give the file name correctly. Okay, and then you can read that into a data frame table like this. This is for writing files. We can keep that on hold. So we rarely write files from the code into that directory. We actually, in 99.9% of scenarios, we just create the file. Maybe you have created the raw data and then you want to visualize it, then we just read the data from that particular path. Like poly.csv, we have a CSV file in our location. If you want to see, here we have this poly underscore CSV file, and that I'm trying to read here. The values present here, these are the headers. So these are the values present and these are the indexes. In case you want to write to that file, you have to use the function table.csv. Okay, so here guys, we saw series and data frames, and again the same concept repeated. We also saw a few functions, but indexing, slicing, and how can you create a data frame using a dictionary or or a single dimensional array, and how can you drop it, how can you add columns to your existing data frames, and how can you read the CSV file, and then how can you write into the CSV file like that. So this is going to be very important guys. So this is not very complex, nothing much to understand here. Just a function called read underscore CSV is there, which is present as a part of pandas library. So this part will repeat more than 50 times when we will start our data science classes. And also this data frames that we have created. So these are going to be repeated multiple times. Okay, so that's it for this session guys. So we are still left with matplotlib. Maybe I'll complete that in the next video, and along with matplotlib we'll also discuss regular expressions, a very important part, and then I'll walk you through some important code snippets, like how to send emails from your Python code, or how to connect to a Oracle database, and how to create a simple page. So that is not required for data science, but still I'll not go in that details, but I'll at least show you the code snippet of basic code snippet of these three things: how to send email, and how to use the package of Flask for web development, and then how to connect with Oracle database. Okay, so this would be the agenda for the next video. And here in this video we did not have much to discuss theoretically. So much of the point was covered by the code snippets. So better just import this file into your machine and just practice it. Only thing you have to understand is what are the functions and how do the functions work, what all arguments do it take, and what are the deviations from that functions. So only these things you have to understand, and just concentrate on basics, because this is going to be used multiple times in our coming data science classes. Okay, so that's it guys for this video, and do practice, uh, and we'll meet again in the next video. Till then, take care.